bit of the music, I was kind of liking that. But thank you very much, Colonel Moore. Very informative. We're excited about the Sentinel program and getting ready for that, making North Dakota prepared for the deployment of that system. Now, next, I have the privilege to introduce someone that really needs no introduction. Governor Doug Bergum. I know you don't like him. Doug Bergum took office as our 33rd governor of North Dakota on December 15 of 2016. Governor Bergum brings a business leader's approach to diversifying our economy, creating 21st century jobs, and revitalizing our main streets. Today, North Dakota has the nation's 5th largest GDP per capita, ranks 2nd in energy production per capita, and boasts one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. Governor Bergum and his administration are committed to making North Dakota the most military-friendly state in the nation, and through his administration, he's proved that over the last 2 bienniums. So it is my pleasure to be able to introduce our governor, Governor Doug Bergum.
Thank you, Pete. Good afternoon, everybody. What a great day to be here with all of you. And first of all, I want to start with gratitude for everybody that's in this room, because you made a choice to be here. You could be someplace else, but by giving up your time, your most irrevocable asset to be part of this here is critically important, because the missions that we're talking about here matter not just to the city of Minot, the state of North Dakota, or the United States, but actually matters to the world. And really appreciate everybody being here. And of course, when we're talking about nuclear deterrence, that's sort of the core of what we're talking about today. We know that this is by experience, that when we were strong as a nation, that's how we achieve peace. That's always been the way it's worked. We all maybe wish it was different. We maybe wish we lived in a world where nobody needed nuclear deterrence, but we're still in that. And so when we're here today talking about how do we sustain and how do we modernize nuclear deterrence, it's the core of everything that you wish for yourselves and for your children and your families. And when I look across this room today and I see all of you here today, and I see the military leaders that are here, I see the community leaders that are here, I see people like Mark and Brecca, everybody that serves on Task Force 21, all of the folks that are volunteering, elected local leadership that's here, the mayor, city council, think about all the legislators that are in this room. This is the best of America. North Dakota, I've had a chance more than ever in the last year to travel and talk to people around the country, and I can tell you that people dream about America that they're not experiencing, but we're living it right here in North Dakota. This is a place where neighbors help neighbors, where communities come together and support each other, where our legislature actually focuses on getting stuff done. And so it's really remarkable, and you're all part of that. There are so many people here to thank today. I'm just going to quickly go through one, but I have to start with our CODEL. Senators Hogan, Senator Kramer. They've worked hard and long to get themselves in a position relative to their positions in the military to really influence the decisions that are being made about this country and platforms. Congressman Armstrong, you heard him up here today, equally strong in his support of the military. And so we've got a fantastic CODEL that represents us every day, and they understand it's not just about budgets, it's about the people that are in uniform. And then we got important guests that are here today, but among them, I got to just give one shout out here to Lieutenant General Lutton. I mean, we don't get 3 stars in North Dakota that often. That's kind of a big deal. And then when we get a 3-star in North Dakota that's been here before, that's even a bigger deal. Then we get one who's got a son serving at the Minot Air Force Base, and his wife's been here for a week with the grandkids. That's even better. But thank you. Thanks for kicking it off this morning, and thank you for you and your family. And of course, out there at the base, such a great relationship, not only between the Grand Forks and Minot, those 2 bases, but Minot, the city of Minot, and the Minot Air Force Base, and Colonel Hoadley, Colonel McGee, the work that all of you guys do. every time I'm at a community event in Minot, you're here. Every time I'm at something at the base, half the community's out there. I heard you had a fantastic tour yesterday. Over 60 people attended, record number of legislators. So again, fantastic. And Colonel Moore, thank you for giving us that update on Centennial. I was going to mention you're talking about the Nunn-McCurdy breach. I was going to say, like, if being 25% over is a breach, then I think every family in America has had a Nunn-McCurdy breach this last year with the inflation we've got going on in this country. And I can tell you from the state of North Dakota, I mean, there's not a road project or water project that we're not facing right now. It's not looking at 20, 25, or 30% increases. And so, these rules that were made 40 years ago don't reflect sometimes the situation we're in. But we all want to keep spending in check. We want to be smart about it. We also have to understand that there's been a major shift in pricing that's occurred in the last 3 years that has not something we've been dealing with for decades, that we're going to have to update how we think about these projects. Because they're just as necessary as ever, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I also want to be grateful to everybody that serves, all the people that serve in our nation's military. Between Minot and Grand Forks Air Force Base, there's 7,300 active duty service personnel, 2,200 active duty spouses. We're working to get that number higher because we know sometimes there are bases that active duty move here and then their spouse doesn't follow. That's not a good thing for a family. And part of the reason why they sometimes don't is because we had too many rules and regulations in North Dakota that prevented things like the transfer of licensures for trailing spouses. And our legislature's done great work to try to knock down some of those barriers. 4,300 active duty children that are here in North Dakota. And on top of that, we've got over 5,500 service members in the North Dakota National Guard and Reserve. That includes our Air Guard in Fargo, 2,400 Guard and Reserve spouses, and 4,200 Guard and Reserve children. You add all that up, that's more than 11,000 active duty, 4,600 spouses, 8,500 children. That's about almost 3% of our state's population. It's so critical to what they're doing, and I know that as all of you know, when an individual serves, whether they're here on American soil or whether they're in some distant country, when they serve, so does their family, and that's why it's so important for us to share our gratitude and support with all of them, because we understand, know that freedom's not free. I understand that in ways that maybe people don't understand. I'm not sure I've shared that with Minot, but I think you guys know when I was a kid, I helped with some other folks start a software company in Fargo. By the time we got done, we had customers in 132 countries. We had 400 team members working outside of North America. We had people working in countries where they didn't have the right to vote, they didn't have the right to assemble, they didn't have the right to free speech, and they certainly didn't have the right to bear arms. They didn't have the protections that we have. And so as a young person, years as an entrepreneur in North Dakota, I have a front row seat about the fact that the United States is a very, very special place. And in all these times, and of course with my dad serving in the Navy for 2.5 years, active duty on a destroyer in the Pacific, I know the sacrifice of his friends and everybody else. There was 151 destroyers at Okinawa, 129 got hit by kamikazes, and it's only by the grace of God that I'm even standing here right now. But that's the legacy that we're all standing on, is that generations of people that have fought for this country. And so I just want to take a moment right now, and maybe it's happened before I got here today, that we can't do it enough. We have to do it with our words and our actions. But if anybody in here is military spouse, reserve, retired military, could you please stand and let's just say thank you from North Dakota for everything you're doing. Any governor will tell you that the most important part of their job and the greatest honor they have, and maybe the greatest solemn honor they have, is serving as Commander-in-Chief of their National Guard, and that's certainly the case for myself. I've had a chance to have a front row seat to see about how the folks in our North Dakota Guard and Air Guard, how they serve, the sacrifices their families make. We've had, there's a big change, and I think everyone in this room understands that, but it was over 25 years ago, when the National Guard went from reserve force to a strategic operational force. We've had North Dakota National Guard soldiers deployed in combat zones continuously since the USS Cole. That's before 9/11. and they continue to serve here and abroad. They're serving right now at our southern border. They're serving overseas, and an incredible group of people. And they're serving here in North Dakota on a permanent mission, which I'll also talk about. But working with our incredible Adjutant General, Major General Dorman, and his team, and Lonnie Wagon in the North Dakota Department of Veteran Affairs, and the state legislature, which has been mentioned, our congressional delegation, and as Pete said in the intro, we do have a goal that we're serious about, which is being the most military-friendly state in the nation. You want to talk about base retention? That's just not all on Minot and Grand Forks shoulders. That's on the state of North Dakota. We got to do everything we can to make sure that we're supporting these communities, whether it's healthcare, addiction, like that Kelly was talking about. The First Lady, as everybody knows, she sends her greetings today, and everybody knows that her struggle with addiction and her recovery, and she's now serving on the National Board of Trustees of Hazelton Betty Ford, and she's one of the people that's pushing behind the scenes to make sure that they can get resources here to help make sure we can serve the people in uniform and their families. And I think all of you recognize the economic impact. That certainly that's an impact. I mean, with all of the people, the bases, this is before the Sentinel construction takes off, which will be another juice to the economy. But just right now at steady state, it's $1.15 billion a year and growing, and over half of that coming right here from the Minot Air Force Base. So we're always looking for ways to innovate and support our military. We've got a number of things done. Recently, the state income tax exemption on active duty pay. We've removed the red tape around authorizing child care. There was a bunch of crazy stuff there that just had to go away. We can have a safe, affordable, high-quality child care and not get in the way of people that want to do that for military families. Expanding the tuition assistance and so much more. And up at Grand Forks, we're working there with the Grand Forks School District. We're going to get a new elementary school and a new high school built, new elementary and junior high built on the Grand Forks Air Force Base with state monies because it's part of the Grand Forks School District. There's a lot of things that we're doing. And our fantastic Lieutenant Governor Tammy Miller, she's done an incredible job. She's the chair leading Task Force MIND, which is military issues in North Dakota, and now partnering directly with the North Dakota National Guard and establishing a number of cross-agency partnerships that can further that. But none of this would have happened, because everything I'm talking about, and I got a list of like 20 or 5 other things, wouldn't have happened without the legislature. And we've got so many of them here today, but let's have our legislators stand up, because you guys have been working so hard, you're so focused, and anything we put in front of you, you guys work it and make it even better. So thank you to all of our legislators. For North Dakota, we've run for a while with the tagline "Be Legendary," and the work that's being done at Minot Air Force Base and the Sentinel Project at the city of Minot is legendary for sure. And it's gonna create a new foundation for decades and decades and decades to come. Is happening. But we're also, when we look to the past and with the respect for the past, the other thing which the legislature supported, they say thank you, but they appropriated money for the first time. We're going to build a world-class military museum here in North Dakota, recalling the great heroes of North Dakota, military service and the profound sacrifice. And I know that part of that military museum is going to help the people of today to understand what the undertaking was to build Minuteman and the role that Minuteman played. Some of those slides that Colonel Moore had up there that showed that history. Everybody in North Dakota needs to know the epic work that went into that and what an important role that played in North Dakota, playing a role in helping us win the Cold War, which set us up for decades of freedom and prosperity. As we move forward, we're going to continue to come up with new and innovative ideas. The legislature can count on the fact that the budget that Lieutenant Governor Miller and I will be submitting to you next December is going to include a number of things that keep advancing our way towards being the most military-friendly state in the nation. And part of what we've done on that is also just about innovation. It's not all about services, but the legislature, thank you. You've been so supportive and so forward-looking to support Vantas, which is going to become the standard air traffic control system for the United States. I'm just making a prediction right here. No one has worked as hard, no one's invested as much as the state of North Dakota, the test site, the Vantas team, the University of North Dakota, the Grand Forks Air Force Base on creating airspace where we can have have safe operations of manned and unmanned aircraft in the same space. You might say that's not that big of a deal, but we're moving from an era where at any one time in the United States, instead of having 50,000 aircraft in the air, we might have 500,000, we might have 5 million. When you start talking about people delivering packages with drones, it's very different than the incredibly safe commercial space we have right now. There's not been a death on a commercial airline in the United States for 12 years. The FAA is one of the things that's operating close to perfection. We still kill over 40,000 people a year on roads in America, but our airspace is one of the most secure and safe things we do. So when you start throwing a bunch of drones up into that space, it matters. It matters to the FAA, and it matters to the people in the communities that they're serving. And so that work is moving ahead and very exciting. And we've got an opportunity to have an exclusive with the FAA to be the developer that's going to move that system forward, which I know is likely going to become the foundation for the country. We have another permanent mission that goes on here in North Dakota, and one is that we're super proud of, and this goes back to the North Dakota National Guard being designated to help provide the on-ground security for all the nuclear missile fields and silos, those 150 ones that Colonel Moore was talking about. The 219th Security Squadron Surveillance and Protection is a total force model for the nation. And you say, well, we've been doing it so long, you might forget about it, but I want to just say, when we got senior Air Force people here, if we were trying to do this on-the-ground security with young Air Force personnel coming in here for 9-month tours and 18-month tours, in these small communities around North Dakota, people wouldn't even know who they are. We've got people out there in North Dakota National Guard that have been on this mission for 20 years. If they see a pickup in town that they don't recognize, they know about it. And so there's just a level of integration there where they're able to do the job and do it with a lot of precision. But with that, it comes some interesting things, because in the world that we're in the world of cyber, not long after I took office, at that time, when I took office, we were way behind on cyber. Thanks to the legislature, we've developed and strengthened that. But we got a call from a small town up here near the Canadian border, and it was not a town, it was a school district, and they said, wow, our school district system is not working very well. It's slow, and it's the power school system that tracks all the grades that the kids have. Well, we got involved with that. This has now been declassified. We got involved in that. You know why their system was slow? Because North Korean hackers were in a K-12 system right here inside the missile field, because in the power school system, the parents of those kids' email addresses were in there, and the parents of those kids were North Dakota National Guard members who were providing security. So they were doing what they do, which is you get in and you start weaseling through and trying to mull your way back. And they hey, if I got an email address, I can get to a home computer. If I get to a home computer, maybe somebody has left a password related to their day job about nuclear security. We fought that and we won, but this is the threat we're against every day. And at the time when that happened, this is back in 2017, 2018, we called the DOD and we said, hey, we're getting attacked by the North Koreans. DOD was so short of cyber personnel, they had nothing to offer us. They're like, well, let us know how it's going. I mean, this is not, and it's, the thing, it's like, so you as the North Dakota National Guard, you're the governor of the state of North Dakota, this is not a thing where we're just, throwing sandbags, for flooding in the spring or fighting spring firefighters. We actually are in a spot where we've got a role where we're actually defending our state, our communities, and our school districts against foreign nationals who pay tens of thousands of people to come to work every day to attack our schools and our cities and our military installations. That's the world that we're living in right now. We're in a cyber war, and we've been in a cyber war for some time, and the awareness just isn't there that it's there. But that's the reality. So again, there's a thank you in there for the legislature, which is thank you for the increases of support you've given. Thank you for changing the law so that we can give you a cyber update and not have it be an open meeting record. That was a big change so that we could help legislators actually understand the threats that we were facing. So thanks for those changes. The other thing which is interesting about this too, which is which we want to make sure when we talk about the Air Force and the intersection with North Dakota, not just Minot and Grand Forks, but we're also very grateful for the role that the Happy Hooligans, the 119th, plays in Fargo. They're also on a permanent mission. They're involved in flying UAS missions. The pilots operate out of Fargo. They've flown both kinetic and reconnaissance missions. They do planning for missions around the world, and they're doing that right there. I mean, they go to work, or they're flying a mission on the other side of the world, and then they're going home to their families. It's part of the new world and the new way that it's working. But again, we're really grateful to have the 119th, and they've been such a decorated wing, and they're doing such a great job, and we appreciate all the federal support that they continue to receive. And then here in Minot, of course, 2 legs of the nuclear triad, with both the missile wing and the bomber wing. And I do want to say, I know the Honorable David Norquist is here, but and I heard his talk was great, except one thing, he stole my favorite joke. And he was talking about how we need to get a nuclear sub in North Dakota to have all 3 legs of the nuclear triad. And I just want to be clear, that's my joke. I have to write with the budget cuts, I have to write my own material, and that was my best one that I had. And now we got some interloper coming in. And then he says we should widen our rivers. And by the way, FYI, Lake Skakawea, Garrison Dam, it's 200 miles long, it's 4 miles wide. Check that box. We're ready. We can drop the USS North Dakota in there, and I know that it's not a ballistic sub, it's a nuclear attack sub, but most people don't understand the nuclear triad. So we could, we could have the nuclear attack sub there, just disrupt some fishing tournaments or something, have it pop up out of the thing. It's an incredible boat. I've had a chance to be on it multiple times. Had an opportunity, and with the First Lady, we've been to multiple officer or change of command. With that, we had one change of command at the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard in Maine last September. But incredible team of people, incredible group of sailors, and they're super proud of the work that they do. And I just want to say that the other thing that they're doing such an amazing thing. For those that are out of town, we have these great rivalries between us. But I just would want to make sure that everybody understands that when you go on the USS North Dakota and you go into the officer's mess, the only thing that you will see is bison flags and bison gear. Okay? I wish Congressman Armstrong was here to hear that, but they're great. They actually they were on a multi-long, 6-month-long mission underwater. They surfaced so they could get the satellite reception and watch the national championship a couple of years ago. And they sent me a picture of flying a bison flag and the U.S. flag over the top of the USS North Dakota. So that was a fun thing. But of course, what we do here in North Dakota, we are about food security, we're about energy security, and we're about national security. And the other thing which I would say goes unnoticed is that it's that for 135 years, North Dakota's been protecting South Dakota from Manitoba flawlessly. Never's been an incident, and you can't even find an article about that. So if there's anybody here from the press, maybe it's time to get that story covered. I do want to shift to something that's a little more serious for the close here, but there's a number of people in this room that have sworn the oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And they take that role seriously. And we're at a really interesting spot in the world right now. In 2017, shortly after we had a new administration, there was a lot of tension going on with North Korea, and Vice President Pence came to the Minot Air Force Base. Some of you remember that. I had an opportunity as a new governor to go with him, and it was a serious time, because there was a lot of saber rattling between North Korea and South Korea. And North Korea and the United States, and if there's in North Korea with their, firing off and testing missiles with greater range, if there's a missile going back to North Korea, it was coming from North Dakota. That's where it would have come from. And so that's why the Vice President was here. We were down together in a missile silo. They were, of course, doing everything they could to make sure that they could, that there was this inspection, if you will, at the highest level, was a way of signaling a deterrent, like, hey, we're ready, we're here, we're aware. New administration. One thing I didn't know, I was new being a governor, and of course you watch all the James Bond movies, and you watch all this other stuff, and you read the stuff, and you know that when the president's got a thing called the football, which has got the nuclear codes, but it turns out the vice president also has them in case something happens. So we were down in the missile silo, and there was this like 6'4" strapping Air Force guy and not wearing a uniform with a black Tyvek backpack on. And I'm like, who's that guy that just always hangs out with the vice president? And they said, he's got the football. And I'm like, oh. And so then we were down there, the Secretary of Air Force, she was with me, and we were there, and tensions were high, and I leaned over to her and I said, if they have to launch a missile, can they make sure it's not this one? We were in the silo with the missile. I'm just saying, I mean, maybe all of you have been in the missile silo with the football, and it's all old hat to all of it. So you guys talked about that this morning. But on a more serious thing, fast forward, so 18 months ago I was with a group of North Dakota business leaders, and we're in Japan. Here's Japan. I mentioned my dad. This is a country that we fought and freed from a totalitarian government, World War II, and then MacArthur helped them set up a constitution. They became the strongest democracy in all of Asia. They, for a time, had the second strongest economy in the world. They have 120 million people in the size of North and South Dakota, think of that. And they have almost no energy production. They're our ally, but they're completely dependent on food and energy that comes from off that island. They need the U.S. today like they needed us in 1945 to get back on their feet. One of the great acts of our country, America at its best, was helping take that country and turn it into what happened. And we were in a meeting with one of the largest Japanese trading companies. So this is now 5 years after I was in that silo with Vice President Pence. We're in a meeting, and our North Korean partners all start getting texts. They all start looking at their phones. In a super polite society, no one would look at their phone. Then people are coming over, whispering to the chairman and the CEO and the whole thing. And then an interpreter stepped in and said, there's been a missile launched at Japan from North Korea. We don't think it's going to hit the island, but we wanted you to be aware. There was a text alert that all of us received. I've been in a lot of international business meetings. I've never been in one where a North Korean missile is being fired at an island that's as small as our two states that's got that many people in it. It went harmlessly over the top of Japan, and of course barely got reported. Those of us that were from North Dakota were there. It's something we'll never forget. And so, well, we were busy chasing, making sure that the Minot Air Force Base and Grand Forks Air Force Base are economically strong. We cannot lose sight of the fact of the mission that underlies why we need to spend these federal dollars to support this mission. Because there are still countries that get up every day, and some of them get up and they do say, and you've heard it in the news today, they get up and say, death to America. Some of them have nuclear weapons and some of them don't. But the enemies of freedom are on the march all over the world right now. The world is more at risk of World War III than any time since I've been alive. I talked about the cyber war. We're in that with China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. We're in a Cold War with China. We talked about China this morning. And guess what? It's not said aloud, but we're in a proxy war with Iran. Very clear after that missile attack that came just 9 days ago. And we're also in a proxy war with Russia. We just absolutely are. We're just that close to being in those ourselves. But, 320 missiles fired, some slow drones, some fast ballistic missiles, all going at our ally Israel. And you know who helped shoot those down? U.S. Navy. But I guess we're not really in this one. We're just helping out. Israel is the size of New Jersey. Think if New Jersey had 300 missiles that landed without a missile defense system, and the death and destruction, it would have made October 7th look like nothing. And so we are in this battle, and everybody wants to talk about something else. The news is every day is about some other thing, but it's not about the important things that are happening on the world, because what really matters to all of us in the end is where we are economically, where we are with energy, and where we are with national security, and those three things are completely intertwined. You talk about these budgets that we need. The only way we're going to be able to afford to do all of this and more is if we have a strong economy. And the only way we continue to do that is if we continue to have strong energy. And right now we're in a spot where we're hurting our military with our energy policy because we're empowering our adversaries. The people that I mentioned that we're at war at, Iran and Russia, are the two biggest beneficiaries of the current energy policy. They're funding the wars that they're in. Iran, the largest funder of terrorism in the world, attacking U.S. troops at bases. I talked to a dad of, a North Dakota helicopter pilot who's going to be, hit a brain injury. He's going to be affected his entire life. He lived because of modern medicine, but it's You know, he was just sitting on his base over there in the Middle East in one of these early rocket attacks that happened back around Christmas, and our administration did nothing. Talk to a dad whose son has been injured, you know, just sitting at his own base, and then we don't respond. So, you know, we're in a spot right now that we just have to understand it's not the news you're reading, it's the reality is that we're in these wars, whether they're cold wars or proxy wars or cyber wars. But that's why we have to maintain peace through strength. As the tensions across the world and across the nation are increasing, we have to have a strong economy to be able to fund these solutions. And at the end of the day, when we think about whether it's AI or fiber or utility or the thousands of miles in North Dakota, the legislature, it's not just you know, working on military pay. We've got to make sure that we've got the infrastructure in North Dakota to support it. We've got to have the fiber here. We've got to have the electricity here. We've got to make sure that we're not shutting down base load, that we're doing the things that we need so that the military can keep protecting our nation and keeping the world safe. So there's work that we have to do. And why are we doing all this? We're doing all this for the same reason this country was founded. We're doing it because of liberty and freedom. Yes, we're a place. We're a physical place. Yes, we're a people. Yes, we're all Americans. But there's an idea that holds us all together. It's an idea that through democracy and individual responsibility is the greatest form of government that we can come up with. And that hope and inspiration exists around the world for people that share these ideals and share these aspirations. That's why people still fight to come to our country. Yes, we have to have border security. Yes, we don't have national security without border security. But think about it. Some of the people we're competing with on their borders, they're fighting to keep people in because everybody wants to leave. We're a place where everybody wants to come. And we should make sure that we keep it that way even as we secure our borders. It's people who desire peace and prosperity. It's people who desire freedom. It's people who desire the opportunity to have their children grow up in a safe neighborhood, for their kids and grandkids to have a better life than they did. That's what all of us have been given by the greatest generation. We've all been given the opportunity to have greater peace and prosperity, to have better lives than our parents and our grandparents. And we've got a responsibility to pass that on. And with that, I just want to say again, thank you to all the people that are here that are working every day to protect our nation, all of you in uniform, all of you that serve, because it's our strength and our military leadership is at the core of these basic freedoms. And we'll keep working at the state level. You've got my commitment for every day that I'm in this job, and I know that the legislators that are here are going to continue that mission to make sure that North Dakota is the most military friendly, the most military supportive state in the nation. Because when we do that, then we fulfill our state government mission, which is empowering people, improving lives, and inspiring success. And with that, I say again, thank you, Minot. Thank you, Minot Air Force Base. Thank you, Air Force leadership. God bless you. God bless the state of North Dakota. And God bless the United States of America.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take a couple minutes to close this out. First of all, I want to start with saying some thank yous.